Okay, we're going to do some quotes now from Noam Chomsky. He's a professor of linguistics, and this is, going through alphabetical order, so we're on the letter C now. Noam Chomsky, he believed in something that he felt kids had just a natural talent for learning, an innate skill, ability to learn. Okay, now let's go through some of his quotes. The whole educational and professional system is a very elaborate filter which just weeds out people who are too independent, who think for themselves, who don't know how to be submissive because they are dysfunctional to institutions. I'm a perfect example. I'm actually half Hispanic. My mother's from Puerto Rico. I have never been offered anything for my Hispanic. I won the Martin Luther King Minority Scholarship Award in med school, but no one ever invites me anywhere. I'm the smartest Hispanic doctor in the whole world. What I'm trying to tell you is what they want is easy to control people. When they talk about minorities and they want to promote them, that's somebody who they can control, a puppet. They don't want to promote a smart person like me who thinks independently and will do whatever is right and who's Christian, no way. Okay, Noam Chomsky. Students who acquire large debts putting themselves through school are unlikely to think about changing society. When you trap people in a system of debt, they can't afford to think. Yeah, like when you trap men in a system of debt from divorce and you trap all these students with their student loans. Standardized testing is bad because it focuses the student's attention on trying to obtain a test ranking rather than on trying to learn something useful. Yeah, I totally agree with that. The school system is designed to teach obedience and conformity and to prevent the child's natural capacities from developing. You either repeat the same conventional doctrines or you say something that's true and it sounds like it's coming from Neptune. Yeah, kids learn so much more. If you read the books by John Taylor Gatto, he's like the best teacher in the United States for a while. And he always is getting himself into trouble because, you have to nurture a person's creative mind and their interest. That really leads to real long-lasting learning versus how much do you remember from grade school and high school? Almost nothing except typing because most of it was just BS. You remembered it for the test and then you forgot it. Real useful learning like driver's ed, how to talk to women, that's something you remember for life. Okay, Chomsky continues, I try to encourage people to think for themselves, to question standard assumptions. Don't take assumptions for granted. Begin by taking a skeptical attitude towards anything that is conventional wisdom. Make it justify itself. Usually it can't. Be willing to ask questions about what is taken for granted. Try to think things through for yourself. Like look at medicine. The medical system is based on drugs, but drugs are pretty much of a joke. They almost never work, okay, other than replacement drugs and antibiotics in some situations. And everything's based on that, okay? Okay, he continues. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum. Even encourage the more critical views. That gives people the sense that that free thinking is going on, while all the time the presuppositions of the system are being reinforced by the limits put on the range of debate. This is what you would call a controlled verbal lexicon. The school system is designed to teach obedience and conformity and to prevent the child's natural capacities from developing. Yeah, everybody has to do the same thing rather than sort of nurturing the interests of the individual student. Either you repeat the standard, okay, we went through that line already before. Okay. If you don't believe in free speech for people you despise, then you don't believe in it at all. It is ridiculous to talk about freedom in a society dominated by huge corporations. What kind of freedom is there inside a corporation? They're totalitarian institutions. You take orders from above and maybe give them to the people below you. There's about as much freedom as there is under Stalinism. The general population doesn't know what's happening, and it doesn't even know that it doesn't know. Okay. As soon as you question the will or decision or reason or choice of action arise, human science is at a loss. Okay, well that's getting on another thing between what is science and what is not, because he's kind of making a point like Carl Jung made that you can't figure out lots of questions with science, okay? Chomsky believed that children have a language acquisition system in their brain and that they have an innate or universal grammar that enables them to learn language quickly, because it's almost miraculous how rapidly a child learns a language. The whole, okay, let's see here. Do you train for passing tests or do you train for creative inquiry? In the long run, it seems like it's too slow to train for creative inquiry, but in the long run, it works much better. I had a video about the best sixth grade teacher in the United States, and what she did was, she wrote a book called The Book Whisperer. She just made a library in her classroom and let the kids pick whatever they wanted and read a book. So the average class would read 2 or 3 books the entire year. Everybody thought of it as a painful obligation, but in her class where they could just pick whatever they wanted to read, give a 5-minute book report on it, her students read an average of 42 books per year, and they were the best students in the school in every single subject. And I think that's how it tends to usually go. If you let them pick the book, then it's fun. They anticipate, they make a prediction about it, they anticipate whether they'll be right or wrong, versus when you force somebody to do something, then it's a painful obligation. Okay, let's see. Excess focus on standardized tests means the teacher and the student can't pursue their own true interests for learning. Instead, they must focus on the test. What is the purpose of college? To educate the elites? To produce graduates as commodities for the job market? How is it that we have so much information but people know so little? And then when he's talking about the grade schools and the high schools where they're doing all this crazy stuff nowadays where they just use a euphemism, gender affirming, and they're castrating children, okay? And here's what he says. It's obvious that what education leaders want to do is to circumvent parental authority, okay? If something is being repeated over and over again as obvious, the chances are that it is obviously false. Yeah, if people just want you to go along with something because everybody knows that, quite often that's not true. Okay, like soy is a good food. Okay, far from creating independent thinkers, schools have always throughout history played an institutional role in a system of control and coercion. And once you are well educated, you have already been socialized in ways that support the power structure, which in turn rewards you immensely. Okay, he continues, a captured pirate was brought before Alexander the Great, who said, "How dare you steal from the people at sea?" And the pirate replied, "How dare you steal from people all over the world? Because I do it with a little ship, I am called a thief. Because you do it with a great navy, you are called an emperor." And that's like the old joke, a spider web only catches the small flies, the big ones just pass right through it. Okay, he continues, either repeat the same conventional doctrines as everyone is saying, or else you say something that's true and it sounds like it's coming from Neptune. Nobody is going to pour truth into your brain. It's something you have to find out for yourself. As long as the general population is passive, apathetic, diverted to consumerism or hatred of the vulnerable, then the powerful can do as they please, and those who survive will be left to contemplate the outcome. He who controls the media controls the minds of the public. The key element of social control is the strategy of distraction. That is to divert public attention from important issues and changes. It is decided by political and economic elites through the technique of flooding the public with continuous distractions and insignificant information. The press is owned by wealthy men who only want certain things to reach the public. The so-called respected intellectuals are the ones who conform and serve the power interests. Okay. All right, and that's all for the quotes from Chomsky today. Hope that was interesting.